Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us for today's webinar. Today, we'll be discussing powering utilities and energy with FME, smarter data and smoother operations. Today, I have the privilege of being joined by our 4 speakers, Zubin, Evie, Paige, and Charles. And I'll pass things over to Zubin to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zubin Jaffer. I've been with SAFE for 4 years and work with our utilities, telcos, energy, and AEC customers. Looking forward to the session today, and I'll pass it over to Evie.
Yeah, hi. So I am Evie LaPalme. I've been with SAFE for nearly 3 years now, and I am a technical support specialist on the form side, and I work a lot with like 3D CAD and anything else as well. And I'll pass it off to Paige.
Hi, everyone. My name is Paige Florie. I have been with ONEOK for 8 years now. I am the GIS supervisor over the automation team, and we work extensively with FME. I'll hand it over to Charles.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Charles Lubensky. I am a GIS developer on the GIS automation team, and I've been with ONEOK for about 3 years now.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, everyone. All right, so before we dive into things today, just a brief intro to our platform Livestorm, if this is your first time using it or you're newer to it. If you do have any audio or video issues during the webinar, please just click that help button on the bottom left. There's 4 simple steps to take. Throughout the webinar, feel free to share your emoji reactions with us. We love to see those. You'll see that handy react button on the bottom middle. And then the questions tab. So please, if you do have any questions whatsoever as we go through the webinar here today, feel free to drop those into the questions tab. And we'll also have time dedicated at the end to address some questions live. And then lastly, the chat, keep letting us know where you are joining us from or share any comments you might have during the webinar there as well. Our peak of data and AI is coming to Seattle, Washington this May 6th to 8th, just a couple months, less than a couple months around the corner. Very exciting. We actually just had the agenda get released, I believe, about a week ago now. So if you have yet to check that out, we encourage you to do so, and we hope to see you all there. In terms of our agenda today, first, we will be kicking things off with an introduction by Zubin on today's topic. And then we'll be handing over the stage for FME and ONEOK's use cases. So we'll be very excited to share with you today the value that ONEOK has gotten from FME, and they have a huge variety of use cases actually to share with us. So we're really excited to share those with you all today. And then Evie's going to be taking us through a weather alert demo and showing how you can apply similar use cases to your own workflows. And then from there, Zubin's going to take us through FME for energy and utilities, followed by a quick wrap up and resources to help you get started. And then lastly, we'll have that Q&A session. So please do drop any questions you have during the webinar. All right, with that, I will ask our presenters if they can turn off their webcams just to save on some bandwidth for the rest of the webinar here. And with that, I'll pass things over to Zubin for our introduction.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Really excited about today's webinar and showing real-life examples of how organizations are improving their operations. We see data support important aspects of the energy and utility sector, allowing companies to gain more insight and drive efficiency, connecting the tools your organization already rely on and delivering a stronger business overall. Some of the examples and challenges outlined here highlight a few of the trends we see from customers in all verticals. Data silos between systems, between teams, people leaving the organization. These are just a few of the many critical areas our customers encounter. So if you don't have FME and some of these sound familiar, then reach out to us and we can have a chat. If you do have FME and want to learn more, then you can also reach out to us and we can schedule a meeting. Ultimately, we want to provide you with the best options and resources to help you succeed at the office and in your role. Companies are working with a huge range of data with different formats, different systems, different applications, and all of it needs to work together across teams, external sources, and spatial and non-spatial. And so this is all possible through our enterprise platform. Additionally, we see customers using FME for asset tracking, customer reporting and outage and emergency management. The delivery of critical data to staff and leadership is key to helping them make informed decisions. We want you to thrive under the pressures revolving around modernization, regulations, and safety to provide the right information and minimize errors. We have two core pieces of our platform where FME Form represents a starting point of the authoring environment to create your workflows. You can then publish to FME Flow for automations, event-driven or scheduled workflows, and data portals, saving you time and bringing things to life. We also offer Flow Hosted, which is managed by us in the cloud through AWS. You can process anywhere, on-prem, on cloud, hybrid, containers. Again, it's about giving you options to make the right decision on what works best for you and your specific deployment needs. We are the only all data, any AI enterprise platform, from geospatial data through to location intelligence and IT, data velocities, all data locations, all data types. We really want to let you choose how you embrace data and how you embrace AI. We have a large catalog of readers, writers, and connectors for hundreds of business systems, allowing you to pull data into FME. The same goes for transformers, where we have hundreds that create or manipulate geometry or formats, and we continue to expand. We also rely heavily on our users for feedback and to tell us what systems they want support for. And with that, I'll now pass things over to Paige.
Hello, everyone. Just a little bit about ONEOK. ONEOK is a premier midstream energy company based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. ONEOK was founded in 1906 to supply natural gas to Oklahomans. And over the past 120 years, it has expanded to over 17 states and 50,000 miles of pipeline. Our products include natural gas liquids, refined products and crude, natural gas gathering and processing, and natural gas pipelines. ONEOK began using FME about 5 years ago and has been improving efficiencies ever since. Some of the projects we have developed include severe weather alerting, including tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, and other severe weather forecasting and earthquake monitoring. And with these, our top priority is to keep our employees safe and to make sure our assets are well maintained in any natural disaster. We also do regulatory reporting with FME. What used to be a very manual process of gathering all the information that needed for regulatory agencies is now simplified down to a click of the button. We also do class change monitoring for the Department of Transportation. And this has improved the efficiency, the accuracy, and the repeatability in our output reports. We also monitor third-party data for permits within our dedicated acreage to make sure no companies are filing permits for areas that we already have dedicated acreage. This proactively allows us to reach out to them to mitigate any conflicts that may occur. We also use FME for aerial patrol and right-of-way maintenance. We're required to have line of sight for our pipelines in order to make sure that no issues are arising. And we have airplanes that fly along our pipeline to make sure that no one's digging in our right-of-way and there aren't any issues that would arise on our right-of-way. One of the projects that a colleague of ours built was for drilling permits. In addition to the pipelines that we maintain, we also maintain storage facilities. These storage facilities are in active drilling areas, and occasionally we'll actually get a permit filed right next to our storage facility with the directional drilling going into one of our storage facilities. So you can see on this graphic, the orange polygon in the middle is our storage facility. And then we have a 2-mile and a 5-mile buffer around that. The green diamonds are permits that were filed for new drilling wells. One of them is within that 2-mile buffer, and the directional drilling that they filed their permit goes directly into our storage facility. And while that would probably be great for them to tap right into the already produced gas, it would be disastrous for our company. So we try to catch these things early so that we can reach out to whoever filed that permit, notify them that they are not going to be able to drill that well, and catch them before they start to put a lot of money and funding into that project. I'm going to turn it back over to Charles. He's going to tell us a little bit more about some of our weather processes. I'll turn it over to him.
Thanks, Paige. Yeah, so we have a number of automations set up to help us monitor weather and geohazards for things like safety, planning, and compliance. Some of these automations provide near real-time alerts, while others are set up to run on like a once-a-day schedule. Some of the near real-time alerts that we have running right now are lightning, which reads a lightning service every minute. And we have various sites around our footprint that have outdoor workers, and obviously lightning is a safety concern. So we read in this lightning every minute, and whenever we detect that lightning has occurred within a certain buffer around that site, we can send out an email alert to let employees know to go indoors and wait out the storm. And then once lightning has not been detected within that buffer radius for at least 30 minutes, we send out another alert to let them know it's all clear to resume work. Another one is flood and tropical storm and hurricane notifications. So for this process, we read in the National Weather Service hazards every 5 minutes. And whenever one of those hazards that meets criteria has been detected, we send out an immediate email alert and to let stakeholders know that there's a flood or tropical storm or hurricane warning that needs to be monitored. On the geohazard side, we also monitor for earthquakes. We read in the USGS earthquake service every 5 minutes. And depending on the size of the earthquake, we buffer the epicenter and intersect that buffer with our assets, and then send out an email alert with a list of those assets and the contact information, so that a manual process is not required to go find who is responsible for certain assets. It's all contained in the email so that people can be contacted quickly and assets can be checked for damage. On the daily weather alerting side, we monitor rainfall along pipelines. Whenever we're doing constructions, we're required to pull stormwater permits depending on the state we're operating in. And those stormwater permits have certain criteria that once that criteria is met, we're required to inspect. And so for this process, we read in a 24-hour rainfall service, and Once rainfall has met an amount criteria along pipelines or construction areas that are being monitored, an email alert is sent out to notify the stakeholders to let them know that those areas need to be inspected. This process eliminated a manual process of having to daily check this, whether rainfall had happened or not. And if it did, they had to manually figure out where the inspection area needed to be. After that, they tried to use a vendor to monitor these pipelines, but it was just they used points along the pipeline, and so there was areas that could be missed. So this process was the FME process allowed us to capture the whole pipeline and send out alerts, and along with the coordinate points of where that rainfall has occurred. On the tornado side, we archive tornado warning polygons. We read in the Weather Service hazards every 5 minutes, like we do for the flooding, and any tornado warnings are archived. And then once a day, we check the past 24-hour archive of those tornado warnings and intersect those polygons with any assets and send out an email alert to let stakeholders know which assets were potentially impacted. This process eliminated, again, another manual process of having to daily download data and manually check for those assets that were impacted and manually look for contact information. All of that is now included in the email alert. This process was also able to be combined with the flood and tropical alerting, which was an automated process prior to this, but it was much less reliable than this process with FME. This tornado alert process is one that I would like to give a little more in-depth overview on. For those of you that may be wondering why ONEOK cares about tornadoes, I wanted to show these two graphics. On the left is our pipeline footprint, along which we have a number of above ground assets and facilities. And the graphic on the right is the tornado archive of our polygons from just January of 2024. So as you can see, our footprint is impacted by a lot of at least potential tornadoes. While the number of confirmed tornadoes is significantly less, we still needed a way to quickly determine which assets were potentially impacted. This process is actually two processes. The first one is the archiving and alerting process. We bring in the Weather Service hazards and the states we operate in and intersect those, and any hazards that occur within the states we operate in, we archive those. If they are a flood warning that meet criteria, we then pass that further down the process to intersect with any assets, and any assets that intersect those flood or tropical alerts get an email alert with the assets that were potentially impacted. And if it's a tornado warning, we send those to an archive to be processed in the next stage. And that second process is the tornado alerting process. So we will read in that archive and filter for the past 24 hours and read in various above ground assets and facilities, and any tornado warning polygons that intersect those assets are then passed along to be cleaned up, add information, and remove any unnecessary fields. And then we check the employee information to see who is responsible for any assets or facilities that those tornado warning polygons have intersected. And then we run it through an HTML builder, and then to build the email alert for the HTML report generator to build the email alert with the asset information, the facility information, the employee that's responsible, and their contact information. And then that email alert goes out to stakeholders so that they can then reach out to those employees, and those assets and facilities can be checked to make sure no damage has occurred, and reports can then be filed to keep us in compliance. So that's a little bit about what we do with weather and geohazard alerting. And with that, I will turn it back over to Paige.
One of the other processes that we use FME extensively for is our right-of-way maintenance. I mentioned earlier that we need to have line of sight for our pipelines all the way down the right-of-way. In order to do this, we need to clear our right-of-way of all brush, shrubs, grass, and anything else that may obstruct that view. We had our operations group reach out to us to see if there was a more efficient way of doing this. They were originally handing off a map of our right-of-way and an assignment to their contractors and saying, basically, go clear this right-of-way, go mow this area without much additional information. And the contractors would then provide information back to ONEOK through weekly update emails, a text thread with the various ONEOK personnel involved in it. And this turned into a tracking nightmare for them. They were going through emails over months and months to find information about areas that may have been skipped. And they were going through email threads for months as well, trying to find information about areas that needed to be revisited and how to get back to those areas. We developed a process to allow them to do all of the clearing, mowing, and contact the ONEOK personnel directly in a GIS app, as well as having FME workflows behind the scenes that allowed them to follow these processes. The data collection portion of this for the contractors is in GIS. They were able to set up a data collection app for them where they're able to record the areas that they've worked in, record any areas they've missed, identify any areas that may need to be revisited directly in that app. Once it is submitted in GIS, the tracking and the alerting goes through FME. From there, we take where they've marked their work and we put it into the system so that we can report on what's been completed, what still remains to be completed. And then if there's any areas that need to be looked at right away, those are identified by the field, and then alerts are sent out to the appropriate right-of-way personnel on the ONEOK side, and they can revisit that area immediately or within a designated amount of time. This has led to increased efficiency for the right-of-way group. They have found that they are better able to track all of the areas that they need to look at and better able to see what needs to be done and how far they've gotten on their project. We have several workflows already set up for this. This is just a simple one that we set up to notify the area reps if something is amiss on the right-of-way. Sometimes while they are doing the right-of-way clearing, they'll find areas where people have deposited large amounts of trash or areas that need to be cleared at a different time due to standing water. All of this information needs to get back to our ONEOK area reps. And since those eyes are on the ground seeing this firsthand, they're the best people to report it. They put it into their GIS system. It then goes into FME, which filters for the records that were created on a certain day. And then it joins it to the areas that the operators have responsibilities for. So each operator will only get the areas of concern that are within their work area. It generates an HTML report that is then attached to the area rep's email, and then it's emailed out to that individual. And this allows them to immediately record where it is, get that information to that area rep, and then the area rep can come out the next day, record anything he needs to record about it, or get the right people involved in order to clean up the area, put it on the schedule for times when the area may be drier, if it's an instance where the right-of-way is too wet to mow. And this is just one of the processes we have in FME. In addition to this, we track the progress of right-of-way maintenance activity. We're able to see how much of the project is complete and how much remains. We also notify our right-of-way team of any landowner concerns or requests. So if a landowner requests that we not mow their right-of-way during hunting season, we can put that on our schedule and know to avoid that area during hunting season. We also provide a weekly summary of all of the activities along the right-of-way to the supervisors on a weekly basis. And we also are able to track any areas that had to be skipped or need to be revisited for more work. And then we're also able to track year-over-year right-of-way conditions, so we can see how the right-of-way is improving through our yearly work. For the operations crew, right-of-way maintenance is their largest budget item, so any efficiencies that we can provide make a big impact on their bottom line. As a result of this project, we got unsolicited feedback from various individuals on the right-of-way team that this tool will revolutionize the way they are performing the right-of-way maintenance process. It exceeded expectations, and the effort will save ONEOK a tremendous amount of money. And that's just confirmation that what we were able to do through FME has helped them tremendously. And with that, I'll turn it over to Evie.
Thanks, Paige. Yeah, so that's great. So I will be going over the weather alert workspace that Charles showed off earlier, and I'll be sharing the workspace as well. You can download it later in our files. So to get started, so this workspace, the goal is to automate the sending out emails when weather alerts impact your assets. The block is that it's a manual process right now. You're constantly just checking a service on the web yourself and comparing it to your assets, and it's not very effective there, very time consuming. And so the key is to use existing data and real-time weather alerts to automatically notify stakeholders using FME. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. And here we go. So this is the first workspace. Charles mentioned that this is 2 workspaces, and this is it as an overview. I've already ran it, but I'll go and zoom in and inspect each one to walk you through it. So first, we start off with the HTTP caller. This is calling the service. I'm using NOAA, which is a free service to get weather alerts, although you can use whatever you have available. If you want to pay for one to get better granularity in your service, you can do that as well. And so this comes in as GeoJSON. So I'm saving it as a file, and then I'm reading it in again with our GeoJSON reader, with a feature reader. So that's what that's doing there. And then you can see here, like it's already parsed, it's great. And you can see all of the polygons here that have come in. I realized in this weather service that not everything has geometry. So I have a geometry filter to filter for polygons, which is what I find useful. And then I test for urgency and severity. Some services allow you to do that in the actual request itself. But for this purpose, I have tested here with some conditions. So if it's immediate, expected, extreme, or severe, I have tested this. And you can change this based on your own needs. And then I test here with a test filter if it's a flood or a tornado, and that just filters it out to, then I can have 2 different streams of data. So these are all of the floods. Looks like it's mostly on the eastern seaboard today, and tornadoes as well. Yeah, also eastern today. And then I have here the assets. These are just random generated assets within the United States that I have. I have 12 of them, and I compare these assets to the floods or the tornadoes. So I have some clippers here to see if they're inside the polygons or not. You could also use a neighbor finder if you wanted to be, even if they were within a proximity of that polygon, you could do that as well. And then here I have a change detector because I'm writing out to a database, but I want to compare to the version of the database to see if there's anything that have come in that are duplicates, basically just changing for change detection for detecting duplicates in the database already. So that's here. And since all of them are outside, nothing got written out into the revised port. And then because it didn't already exist, they were set to be deleted or unchanged. So nothing got written out this time, but you can see that how that would work. I also have the change detector set to update on the ID field, which I have exposed, and I have also made it the mode insert and update. So that means that when I inspect this, you'll see that the FMEDB operation is automatically populated. So yeah, so then I can use that in the writer as well. So I use the feature operation here for change detection. Moving on to the next workspace. This is the one that sends out the email. So I have here both the tornado and flood connected here, but if you had different processes for both, you could do that as well. And so this, I'll zoom in again. So this is first getting today's date with a date timestamper. So this outputs the date in this format. And right now the onset, which is the current date, is in this format. To compare them, I need to make that change. So here in the date time converter, I've converted it from this format to this one to make sure that they're the same. And then I calculate the difference in hours between the two, between when it started and today in hours. And because that gets me a weird number of 171.345 hours, that's not very useful to me, I have used an attribute rounder to round the hours and then tested for that. So yeah, you can see from the attribute rounder, they're now round numbers. And then if it's within the last 24 hours, I will pass it. Unfortunately, none of them are within the last 24 hours, but I will just run it anyway for this testing purpose, demo purposes. So then I create an HTML report with the HTML report generator. I just create the header and some custom HTML just to list the values that I want, but you could also create a table or anything else that you wanted, but maps don't really work in email, so I would avoid that. I also grouped by the email itself so that they don't get all together in one email. You can also do further group processing before this if you wanted to group by a specific area, let's say all of the polygons or all of the alerts within one state, just to send out one email to the person handling that region. You could do that as well. So then I send out the email with the emailer, and I am just sending it to myself, but you would probably want to use the actual email attribute to send it out to that person. I have a note here with a little annotation that, yeah, add the email attribute for the actual. And so I'll just show you the email as well, what it looks like. This is what the email would look like when sent out. I have the subject, weather alert. This is the summary of that alert. What is the event, severity, urgency, the status, and the hours since? What is the asset? And if you had any other information tied to your asset or to your weather service, you could send that out as well. And with that, I'll switch back. Yeah. Tips and tricks. Here is a little summary of what I did and some things to do. I would use FME Flow to automate your workspaces with email triggers, webhooks, or schedules. It's a really great way to use this workspace. And also there are several ways to process data in FME. There's not just one right way, such as there are several transformers that could do the same job as one transformer. So everyone's different in how they want to organize this and process your data. And then I would also just check the data from the service you are using. Some weather services have multiple polygons for the same alert. So you may want to combine these. And then also, I've noticed in some, at least with NOAA, some of the actual digitizing of the polygon around a coast, if it's like a flood, might miss some parts of the coastline. So you might want to use a neighbor finder for that, just to make sure you're within proximity of one as well. So yeah, so just make sure, check your data as well as you're building it out to see if there's any issues there. And with that, I will pass it back to Zubin.
Thanks, Evie. Great demo. It's easy to acquire FME through a license purchase or our more popular option through a subscription. Our subscriptions let you deploy more assets and provide more scalability as you grow. No matter the industry, we can help you decide what the right option would be, whether you're a small or big company. There are tailored solutions to provide users with licenses for their current and future requirements. We typically see tight deadlines, projects and go live dates in energy and utilities, and we know that flexibility is of the utmost importance. For those of you who joined the webinar today and aren't familiar with SAFE, we've been around for over 30 years. We have customers in 128 countries, and we work with over 25,000 organizations worldwide. We continue to grow and expand our footprint across the globe, and we also have a strong, extensive partner network in all major regions offering professional services. Over to Elizabeth.
Awesome, thanks, Zubin. So I'm just going to take us through some resources to help you get started with today's topic. And right off the bat here, we do have some specific to today's webinar that Evie and the team helped curate. So please do check these out. I'm not sure, Evie, if you have any specific notes on these to share, but yeah, these are all relevant to today's topic and to help you get started.
Yeah, the article here, that is a landing page for the rest of the utility network tutorials. And then the rest are just blogs to give you ideas of what you might be able to use FME for.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. And if you do wish to take a look at these and just download the slides directly, you can click through these links actually just under apps and then handouts. That's a handy way of doing that. We are all about free resources here at SAFE. I would encourage you to check out our FME Academy. It's home to free instructor-led training at your fingertips. And then we also have lots of upcoming and on-demand webinars that are available over on our safe.com/webinars page. In terms of next steps to take here today, if you are newer to FME, I'd encourage you to check out our FME Accelerator course. It's just 90 minutes. It's free of charge. There's no download or anything required. I personally took this course and found it to be quite helpful for learning the basics. If you are a member of our FME community, we do have a badge code for you to redeem today. I will drop that in the chat as well. just as a thank you for joining us here today. And if you aren't a member of the community, or if you have yet to take a look at it, we encourage you to do so. It's a great place both to network with other users alike and then also gain solutions to your data challenges. There's forum opportunities there. Once again, our Peak of Data and AI, this May 6th to 8th. We hope to see you there in Seattle. And with that, we do have some time remaining here for questions. So I'll invite our team on the stage to join me for that, and we can take a look through here. It looks like we got maybe one or two during the webinar, and while everyone's joining me here, I'll just encourage you, if you do have a question top of mind, feel free to drop it in, and we can address it as we go here. And then if anything comes up after the webinar, of course, please don't hesitate to get in touch as well. All right, it looks like the team's here now. It looks like we got a couple questions here. I'm not sure if there was one we want to maybe start with. If anyone had one in mind.
Yeah, I was just typing out some questions, but I see in the chat, Logan said, is there, should you hard code your email, the email into the emailer, or like have it like added through like an attribute? And I kind of showed both in my demo, but for the demo purposes, I hard coded it as my own email so you could see what the email would look like, but you could always just set it as an attribute as well. And you can see that in the workspace that we'll share out after. Yeah. And then there was another question in the questions tab about AI and implementing that for predicting leaks in pipeline. Yeah, and so that one, I feel that I don't think we are actually going to implement anything like AI, like our own AI in FME to use in your workflow, but you can connect to your own AI within FME and use whatever workflow you want to predict and forecast any of that. So the options are there, but it's not, I guess it's not out of the box. I'll say that. Paige and Charles, have you ever thought about using AI in that kind of aspect?
We're definitely looking into using AI more at ONEOK, but we have not implemented anything so far. So it is probably on the horizon, but as of right now, we don't have anything set up.
Nice, yeah. Okay.
There's one more question in the questions tab for ONEOK. Yeah, and yeah, I guess the question is, why did you choose to, I guess, poll the service instead of using a webhook or a stream? And I believe he said that there was just maybe something to do with the service that you were using.
Yeah, so that was just the way it was designed initially. I'm sure you could definitely use a webhook or go the stream route. When I configured this, I wasn't working a lot with streams yet, so that's been something new for me. And yeah, it's something and webhooks and streams are definitely an option, and could probably be. It would probably be a little quicker, a little more real time if you needed something more immediate, like if you were trying to alert employees, like a tornado alert, something, or severe weather that is where a quick alert would be necessary. Then yeah, setting up a stream or a webhook to where it's a little more immediate would really be an advantage. In our case, it's we didn't need anything quite that quick, so just kind of something on a schedule just worked out for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. Okay, it looks like we've gotten to all the questions, unless I'll ask the team, is there anything that you've seen you want to address further? Okay, perfect. All right. I will note I will keep things running a few minutes longer after we have concluded the webinar here today. Just in case, if you do have any questions that come to mind, feel free to keep dropping those in. But in the meantime, I just want to give a huge thank you to our whole audience for joining us here today. We hope you got a lot of value from today's content. And a huge thank you as well to our guest speakers. Thank you so much for your time and preparing today's content and joining us on the webinar here. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Our pleasure. Awesome. And if anyone does have a moment to fill out our webinar survey, we really appreciate any feedback as well. Helps us continue to improve on our program. And I dropped that link in the chat a few minutes ago as well. Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
Have a good day. Bye.